Hi, my name is Lisa Boogaard, and today I'm going to be taking you through an overview of compliance with Popia, the Protection of Personal Information Act. I've previously prepared a similar video on the subject matter. However, today I thought I would present it with slides which may be a little bit more effective. Just keep in mind that this is a suggestion based on how I've approached the Act, and it's obviously not intended as legal advice, but perhaps just a point of reference which the viewers may find beneficial. Okay, so previously we discussed that every organization has an information officer by law. However, this person then needs to be registered with the information regulator. You would then communicate the registration with the organization and the appointed person so that your employees and all stakeholders within the business are aware of who the information officer is and who the queries are then directed to. Thereafter, your information officer would obviously need to understand what their duties and their responsibilities are in terms of the Act. I've addressed this in a previous video. However, it's important that your information officer reads the Act, reads the regulations, and if necessary, support is given to the information officer, because it can be a mammoth task depending particularly on the size of the organization, or even in a small organization, to try and get your head around the Act and the regulations. Your information officer is likely to require some level of support depending on their background and their training and expertise. So, yeah, obviously suggestions are: understand key definitions, understand the 8 conditions and other key provisions addressing, for instance, special information, transfer of personal information outside of South Africa, prior authorization, direct marketing by means of unsolicited electronic communications, and automated decision making. And yeah, again, this will very much depend on the size and the nature of the business. However, at a minimum, your information officer should have an understanding of the conditions and these different provisions within the Act, as well as the regulations, and be able to make their way around these documents and understand them. So with a good understanding of the Act and the regulations, you can then go about mapping out the personal information. The information officer would attend to this with the support of the business, and you may use different types of technology to make the exercise more efficient and more comprehensive. So each organization may attend to this in a different manner. My experience has been to separate your data subjects, those are the persons in respect of which you hold personal information, into different categories. So for example, employee, clients, customers, shareholders, board members. So you separate your data subjects, and then in respect of each of those data subjects, you list the purpose for the processing. Purpose is, of course, important throughout the entire process, and it will be, when you consider the conditions in the Act and the other relevant provisions, purpose of processing is going to be an important point that continues to come up. So per data subject, you record the purpose for the processing of personal information. And from that point, you would document under each category of data subject what type of personal information you hold. For instance, ID number, names, email addresses, physical addresses, any identifying information in respect of a natural person or identifiable juristic company or entity, sorry. And if the purpose of processing of personal information and the storage is as a result of another law, for instance, the Companies Act or the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, then this ideally should be recorded as well, as it may assist you in determining your retention periods for certain records. And also, you would want to flag any special information as defined in the Act, address what type of record it is. Is it an electronic copy? Is it a hard copy? And identify the security measures which are implemented by the business, or indicate that there are none, and as well as indicate who has access to the records within the business, what authority levels are the applied to those records. So this will then give you a map, or on a certain level, an understanding of what personal information you hold, and the basis for holding the information, the personal information, as well as what are your security levels and access levels to the information. Okay, so now that you've attended to the mammoth task of mapping out of your personal information that the business holds or the organization holds, you now apply that to the conditions in the Act and other key provisions, such as special information, or the provisions pertaining to special information, prior authorization required by the regulator, rights of data subjects regarding direct marketing by means of unsolicited electronic communications, directories and automated decision making, and trans-border information flows. So then once you've attended to that, you can start to actually flesh out and compile. Well, during that process, you're going to be compiling your compliance framework and determining what action items need to be attended to allow for lawful processing of personal information. Action items, according to each organization, could vary. So this is not an exhaustive list, but some items may include reviewing of your application forms, your onboarding processes, your reviewing of supplier agreements, implementing retention policies, data privacy policies, PIE manuals, and staff awareness training, which is a requirement across the board, to make your staff aware of the provisions of the Act, the regulations, any codes of conduct in place, as well as any information from the regulator. And then, as an ongoing basis, there will be personal information impact assessments attended to, which are there to determine that there are adequate standards and measures in place to allow for the lawful condition of processing. So I hope you found this video informative, and that it may give perhaps particularly smaller businesses some direction in terms of compliance. However, keep in mind, it is, first of all, this is how I've approached the Act, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. However, it's not in any way to replace legal advice, and nor to be viewed as legal advice, but yeah, I do hope it is of assistance. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video.